Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tavern Talks. I am your lore keeper and tavern owner here, but tonight we're going to do a good old fashioned interview. Let me make sure that all of my stuff is coming through. Can you talk real quick? Okay, yep, it's not going through for you. We fix that real fast because I saw that what was happening there. Okay, how about now? Let's see if we can hear him.
Test, microphone check.
There we go. There we go. We're live. Awesome. This makes me feel like the old days when everything screws up every time I run this darn thing. Anyway, uh, tonight we're going to go back to our original way of running these things, and we're going to learn about what is going on in the D&D and TTRPG community. And what better way to do this than ask the people in the community? So I brought Crucible of Fate in tonight, who are doing some crazy things out there in the YouTube world, and they've got a neat concept that they're building and that they're running through right now, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to hear from them. So get your questions ready, toss those in chat as we continue our conversation. Just make sure if you can just put a giant, like a capital Q at the beginning of the question, that way I can make sure I can catch those with my eyes. So let us know who you are and what you're doing over there in the TTRPG community.
Sure, no problem, James. So, my name is David Carter, and I am the Killer DM and the host of Crucible of Fate, which is a competitive, open invitational, high stakes D&D live stream and game show.
See, you say live stakes or like high stakes. Like, what are we talking about?
I say high stakes because unlike a traditional D&D game where you're going to do a lot of rolls and not every single roll is really going to be life or death. In Crucible of Fate, every roll is important and could mean life or death. And that was 95% true through all of round one, but round two, it's going to be 100% true. So high stakes, one bad roll, and it could mean the end of your character's time on the game show.
On the game show. Okay. Yeah, so we're not talking like old school, like, hey, because I see the channel right now. It's funny. If you die in the game, you die for real. No, no, no. It's not the anime that we watched when we were kids. But it is an interesting concept. How many people do you have currently like prepped for this?
So
For people that
it's
have not
actually,
seen the show.
yeah, so if you haven't seen the show, I would like to think that I'm running one of the biggest D&D games that's going right now. So I'm a single DM, but I have 124 characters in my campaign. Now, the bulk of that are 120 contestants, and these are all characters that come from all over the place in my homebrew world of Araya. And in real life, it's 120 people from all over the world. And their characters have been cast into the abyss for one reason or another, and now have to fight to survive, as only one can be champion. And that champion will be the right hand man of the demonic host named Therangul. So
Ooh.
everyone else will be killed, and the whoever stands on the bodies of the rest will be the commander of his abyssal armies.
Okay. So this is interesting. So not only are we playing D&D, we're playing D&D with the potential of being the bad guy. I love it.
That's right.
Like for me, that's super exciting. Uh, as a game master who had the opportunity to run an entire campaign with evil as the intention, which was the first time I had ever done it. It was definitely a new concept that I have not ever touched before. But so interesting that not only are we going to be playing this high stakes game where you could die or potentially will die, but the ending goal is to be the right hand man of a demon. Like, great idea. Love this.
Well,
All right.
that's the demon host's idea. I'm sure some of the like lawful good contestants have other plans, because the neat thing is that the experience of the contestant mirrors the experience of the player. So the contestants are thrust into the abyss, into this Fate's Hand tavern, and they're in stasis in this like contestants circle, and they're drawn out 6 at a time to compete in these killer games where they either fight a horrifically overpowered monster like CR. I think we had a beholder. Well, we had a beholder, so CR 13 and up. But lately, I've been sticking to about CR 20 or so.
Okay, and we're playing with what level characters?
So starting level 3. So
Okay.
there's no real hope of winning in round 1. Although 2 of my groups have managed to kill the monster.
Wow.
For reasons that we can get into later.
Sure.
But yeah, so they're fighting a horrific monster. As soon as one person dies at the hands of the monster, the other 5 have the option to teleport back into the Fate's Hand Tavern. They go up a level right away. So in round 1, they go up to level 4. Then they're thrown back into a random escape room where the room is trying to kill them, and they can also try to kill one another just to expedite their proceeding to the next round.
Their potential to the next round. So when let's say, since these monsters are not supposed to be killed, not saying they don't get killed or they're not able to be killed, but let's say they're not supposed to. So what you're telling me now is that the way to get out of there, to win this, is you have to be just there the longest.
Yeah, so you don't have to necessarily kill the monster in round 1. You just have to not be the person that gets killed. So you can like cast hold person on another contestant, which leaves them paralyzed and unable to defend themselves, right? So it's mechanical things like making sure your other contestants have advantage on attacks against them, or they're restrained, or anything that's going to facilitate their demise, which allows you to then survive.
Excellent.
There's a lot of contestants who have been playing lawful good characters. So the interesting thing about that is that in order to be lawful good and protect others and like defend the weak or the innocent, the actual players have to take a lot of risk in the game because they're probably going to lose if they try to be heroes, but yet heroes they are, and their courage as players and the risks they're taking pay off, and they then become heroes on our Discord community.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that is different. So let's see here. No risk, no reward. Coal chambers, you caught it on the nose. I mean, that's a big thing that I tell people when I'm running games or when I'm trying to give people those GM tips. There is no risk, there is no reward. Playing a game like Dungeons and Dragons or any TTRPG without the idea that you could potentially die, it gives me the feeling that you aren't going to play it to its fullest ability. So I don't agree with people who believe that you should always live in a Dungeons and Dragons game. And I'm one of the few game masters out there that will kill you on your first session if you are dumb. Like, I will do it. I told this story a couple weeks ago. My first game mastering, I was in high school, and I got my first chair thrown at me and my dice thrown at me the same night because I killed off half the party because of dumb things they did. And I was like, I didn't kill you. You all killed yourself. It's not my fault. But this is where I became known as the game master that was willing to kill people. And I've lived on that. Every campaign I kill at least one player. Not by choice either. Like, it's crazy. It happens.
Well, you have to put the players in a situation where there's risk. If you don't do that in a home game, then you're not going to be invested. You're not going to be engaged. You're probably not going to be paying attention.
Right.
So my players in my home game, I mean, they know that if they go to a certain place, I'm not going to tell them like, oh, this is a really tough battle. Like, maybe you shouldn't go.
Yeah. But you're going to give them hints.
Yeah. But I can't see your chat, but you mentioned Coal Chambers. So
yeah.
Shout out to Sir Daylon, Don Blaze.
So I asked in the chat if there was anybody in here who are players, and Coal Chambers said at least 2 of us are in here. So I don't know who the other player is right now, but
so interestingly enough, Cole, his character Sir Daylon, has been involved in both of the victories that the contestants have had. And mostly, well, nice. Yeah, largely in part to his actions. And
awesome. Sound off. Sound off, do you mean you lost sound, or are we talking sound off as you're calling him out? I don't know which. He just said sound off and then exclamation mark. So I'm hoping that just means that he's good. All right, cool. So I was watching this earlier, and I haven't had a ton of time to like watch multiple episodes yet, just because life is exhausting. Kind of break it down, because the way it looks like every episode kind of runs the same way.
Yeah.
So we're bringing characters into this world, or into this scenario, because everything seems to be all kind of clicking in the same way. I was calling out his fellow contestants. And then what happens next? So they introduce their characters, and then what happens?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, 120 people, 6 per episode. So we've had 20 full episodes over the last year. Each episode is broken down into 3 games. So like part 1, part 2, part 3. Part 1 is Hunter and Hunted, part 2 is Escape the Room, part 3 is Split the Party. So fighting a big bad monster, escaping the room, and then turning on each other. But at the beginning of, like, let's say Hunter and Hunted, the 6 names get announced. They come down into the Fate's Hand Tavern. They have a bit of interaction with like the head of security, Dregs, and also the host, Tharamgul. There's a little bit of banter. Then they're given 2 minutes to introduce themselves as people, as players, and then we introduce the characters, where they have to describe what their character looks like, and then they get 2 minutes to do their description, and then address the Eyes of Truth, which is what we call everyone that's watching on YouTube, because I encourage everyone that's watching to rules lawyer me as much as they want and point out the mistakes I make, because that's the only way to learn. I give them free 5 minutes to role play amongst one another, which is kind of like a free opportunity to plead their case with one another and make their intentions known. And then we roll initiative for what I call intermission actions. And so in the first part, they get 1 intermission action, so they can choose to speak privately with somebody. And so on Zoom, I put everybody else in the waiting room. I bring in the person whose turn it is. No one who's in the show know what the person who's doing their intermission action is actually like up to. If they call another player in, it's kind of like a cone of silence thing. So these 2 get to talk with me and with each other, and no one knows what they're doing. So they could be like, oh, okay, you and me, we're a team now, and we're gonna kill this person as soon as the game begins. So the poor person in the waiting room has no idea what's going on.
Right.
Or they can do things like cast spells. So you could cast Bless on yourself, or cast Slow. And then right before you go into the portal, the effects of your spell take place. So you could be hitting people with Slow right before they go in to fight the monster.
Okay.
Which can make things pretty...
Oh yeah, definitely 100%. So you can prep spells, you can kind of do your little almost... what's the like almost like a Survivor episode, right? So you can pull people to the side, like, this is what we're gonna do, right? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, so I think it's a pretty unique take, because before the first game you only have 1 intermission action, but then before the second game and before the third game you get 2.
Okay.
Because you're gonna probably need a short rest after fighting a CR-17 monster.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. Like, I'm super excited to hear this whole CR-17 monster being taken down. Like, that's pretty wicked, I'm not gonna lie.
Sure, yeah, glad to get into that. The other thing, though, with the intermission actions, you can go to what I call the gift shop within the Fate's Hand Tavern. And these are a mix. It started out being homebrew items of mine, but I wanted to stick as close to raw as I could for season 1. So people can buy really powerful magic items, but I don't say what the items are. I'll just describe them. So if you're a DM or a player that studies the DMG, you kind of get rewarded, because you're like, oh, I know what he's describing. That's a wand of paralysis, or regeneration, or something.
So you're describing it strictly out of the way it's shown in or told in the book.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't reveal any mechanical effects, because when people make these purchases, they don't have to pay gold. They have to give up part of their soul. And the way I've done that is I've made tiers of magic items. So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3.
Right.
Tier 1s are weaker, tier 3s are stronger. If you pick a tier 1 item, you have to tell me whether you want it just for the night or for the whole, like permanently.
Right.
And then you roll on the wheel of consequence, which could be things like you're now blind or deaf, or you have -2 strength.
Right.
It'll stick with you while you have the item.
And then it's the same, and then the consequences, I'm guessing, go up as you pick the higher level.
They might. Yeah, I mean, right now the consequences have stayed the same all through round 1, and they're pretty bad. But hey, if you all of a sudden have like a +2 sword of wounding, that's a pretty big advantage, even if you have a -2 to your dex or something.
Right, yeah, 100%.
So the audience gets to see what people buy, but the other contestants don't know what you have. And I give everybody a welcome gift at the beginning of the show. So someone could get a potion of greater healing. It's all from Magic Item Table B.
Okay, so you just roll on it and just... Hey, so you're using the tools that you're given, such like, and it's one thing I tell people all the time. Use those tools very, very consistently. You will find out that it's so much more a way to create stories than it is for me to just give out stuff. I don't ever personally, when I'm in a home game or when I'm running a stream, I don't ever roll on a random table during the show, but anything I've done during a stream, most of the time I'm rolling on a random table behind the scenes 3-4 days beforehand and going, okay, this is what I pulled. How can I roll that into a story? Or like, this is where they could find, these are the items that they could find in the shop. And I just grab those items and I throw them in the shop. But nobody would ever know that, right?
Yeah, and I do the same in my home game. And even with this, I mean, I pick out the items the week before, typically. Because I don't want to give items that are going to be more beneficial to one contestant than the other. So usually I pick the magic items before I know the classes of the contestants.
Right. I'm fixing that right now, Tiny. Like I said, normally we have extra help on this stream, but fixing our special guest, because our special guest from last week is sitting in here right now. But let me get that fixed for us. Save. All right, cool. So yeah, that's exciting though, because like I said, it's something that's different. It's something that is not used as consistently that you would expect, but it does give some flair to it that I really like. Let me see here.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when I started out, I didn't know if anyone was even going to apply it to play, and then very quickly I wouldn't say I was getting inundated, but I probably had 30 or 40 resumes, if you will, of people submitting characters to play. And I started bringing them in 6 at a time. And as I did, I was like, hey, we also have this Discord community where you can talk to previous contestants and maybe get some hints on how to play.
Right.
And the community just started like growing and growing and growing. And even though it's a competitive environment, everyone respects the rules.
Good.
So it's a community that has grown through friendship and respect for the game. No matter what you think of D&D in these turbulent times in the TTRPG industry.
Yeah, there's been some rough points.
Yeah, but we respect the rules and we respect fair play, and people get punished if they use an ability that their character shouldn't have, or if they use them incorrectly. We have a rules committee. We also have people that volunteer to run games. So pretty much every day on our Discord we have, well, I shouldn't say every day, 3 or 4 times a week there's games running that people can sign up for, and everybody is super friendly. It's amazing, actually.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that this world that we live in nowadays, Discord has become kind of this almost like Big Brother, Big Sister clubs, because that's all it is. Like, I don't know many Discords that I'm in where I'm dealing with a lot of toxicity or I'm dealing with any sort of like problems. You see it on all these other social media platforms, but for Discord, for some reason, it's like if you're sticking in a Discord, there's a reason, you have a purpose there, you're connected with people, and it's just how fast does that grow, right? Now, there's always going to be problems. We all understand that. But it seems that Discords that are built behind those concepts of friendliness, fair play, enjoying the game, that kind of thing, you start to see those players immediately, or those people kind of weeded out very quickly. And I mean, our channel is the same way. We have a very small channel, but our people that are in it. Like, I don't have to worry about any issues, and they're very supportive people.
Yeah, and that support is incredible, because there's a couple of reasons why I started doing this show. The first and main one is that I entered into the TTRPG industry 10 years ago. I made an RPG called Alpha Omega. Got nominated for an ENnie for artwork, but
Nice.
I had problems with my business partners, and I kind of took a corporate kick in the nuts and then took a break for 10 years away from the industry. And it took me a long time to just gather the will and energy to try and get back out there again. And the second reason is that I wanted to meet people who love D&D as much as I do. When I'm not with my family or my job, all I think about is D&D.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in the same boat. And a lot of times, I wouldn't say that kind of backfires at times, but at the same time, it can, And I don't ever say I wanted to, but sometimes.
But what I found was people came out of the woodwork to join the Discord, join the show, and now out of the Discord, there's people that are volunteering their time and energy to help me for free, right? I mean, I make like $1 a video right now, so it's not like I can pay anyone.
Right.
It's but they're helping because they believe in the show, they believe in each other, and it's just been amazing.
That's awesome. No, that's huge. Like, and I know a lot of Discord channels like that. I know a lot of companies like that right now. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. But we realize that we have to kind of combine together right now, because a lot of these places, they're not making anything, or they're making pennies on the dollar, and they're not getting anything from it. So you can't. I mean, we all have lives. I mean, let's just be honest with it. Everybody's got their full-time jobs. Everybody's got their, families, friends, life outside of Dungeons and Dragons. Some of us less than more. I'm not gonna lie. Dungeons and Dragons has become a really big part of my life over the last few years, and it continues to grow. I don't know how it continues to grow. I don't know how I even have time to make it grow, but it does, and it all comes from that community. And I think that's kind of the crazy thing is that everybody is so supportive in it that you want to be around it. You want to be there and help people, giving time and energy to something that, in all honesty, we all believe in a very deep way. Telling stories is so old. It's an old concept, but everybody loves doing it. Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, that has nothing to do with it. We play sports. I mean, I still do. I'm the weirdest nerd you'll probably ever hear of. I do full-time full-time father and dad, martial arts 3 days a week, at the gym the other 3, like run this stuff at nighttime. I'm about to yell at my son who's in the background. I can hear him playing around with Legos, and he should be in bed by now, but he's going to get up. He's going to be able to pull this off until 10 o'clock when I get off the stream. Yeah, no, it is what it is. Hey, what's up, Evermore? Another cool crew right there. But yeah, this is an interesting way to think through things, and the concept of bringing something as competitive as what Crucible of Fate looks to be in my eyes as I'm watching it, and building a community around that competitiveness just gives a lot of I give you a lot of respect for that, because it could be very toxic very quickly with that kind of competitiveness. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because it seems to be working pretty solid in my opinion. So
Yeah, I mean you're absolutely right, and that's why I never expected to have a community based on Crucible. I thought people would sign up for the episodes, they'd come on the show, and then they'd go on their merry way unless they survived. So to have this be established and continue to grow is amazing. I think that all of the players are very aware that the actions of the characters are very much not the actions of the players. And I mean, you see in the game, before people do anything that's like evil for their character, they'll say, "Oh man, I'm really sorry, Jeff," or Sally,
right.
but my character would do this. So and it's kind of like, I mean, it's a deadly game show in the abyss, like anything goes. So we've had people have alliances with one another, and then they literally stab them in the back and
Yeah.
run them through, and
I think
people get
coming
emotionally invested and they're upset. And
yeah
as the host, Thavern, he says all the time, like, don't trust anybody down here, it could be a downfall. And
agreed.
people still end up trusting and
Yup.
making friends, and they get punished for it.
Right. No, and I think that's interesting, because in all honesty though, it kind of makes sense though, because you're telling people up front, right? And I think that's probably where you're keeping a lot of that anger and like hatred and stuff like that out of the game, because of the fact that this is built behind this concept. Like, this is built behind if you've played any of the older TTRPGs like Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf, any of the World of Darkness campaigns, most of those are based around deceit, subterfuge, like things like that, where you're trying to kind of work around the mind of people. And this to me is the D&D version of that, to a point where you are able to offer that without any repercussions, because you're telling them up front, this is how bad this could get. Like, your friend, who's your friend, we'll put quotations around friend, has the absolute potential to stab you when the purpose is right. So
Yeah. Now we've introduced a way that you can make real teammates that you can most likely rely on, and we use these homebrew magic items that every contestant, they get 6, and they're called fate spheres. And fate spheres have the ability to change your fate. So let's say a monster is attacking you. You can use a fate sphere to get them to roll at disadvantage, or you can use a fate sphere to give yourself advantage. But from a meta point of view, you can use one to soul bind with another contestant. And when you soul bind, you're really counting on that person. Like, you're truly gonna go through the game together. At the end of round 1, all the survivors are getting dumped into this pool, and I'm gonna do a live stream where I pick the contestants episode by episode. So if I pick someone who's soulbound, then them and their partner or partners move into round 2 together. So you have this team of 3 that you could move through the show together. Now, what happens at the end, we'll have to wait.
I mean, that comes into a very same concept, is like we talked behind screen, like, you kind of came from this idea of the Squid Games, right? And that is where this whole, we can make it to the end together, but one of us is dying at the end. Hopefully that becomes a amazing story at the end, and those 2 players can really, because it would be cool, I'm not gonna lie, but it would be very cool if you were like, hey, I'm soulbound to this person, and those soulbound people made it to the end, and then those are the ones who are gonna have to deal with at the end. Because I think that would be an interesting way to see that play out. So
one way or the other at the end, just while we're talking about the end here, I mean, I really don't know what's going to happen. I mean, maybe the players will turn on the host depending on who they are. When we get down to like the final 6 or final 5, maybe they will.
Right.
And or maybe the characters that are left actually want to be his right hand and will go all the way to the end, killing anyone that gets in their way. But no matter what happens, it's really going to be an incredible tale to tell, because it's a long road. It's the 3-year campaign where every single time they rolled a die, it could have been the end of their character and the end of their time on the show.
Right.
So it really is going to be epic, and that's why, you know, I plan on doing a Kickstarter or something to fund a cartoon, because I really think that this has legs, and I think it's going to be a tale that, though the longer you survive, the more memorable it's going to be. Right? You're going to have to endure.
Yeah, you have to endure a lot, right? And that's definitely the case. This is something where you have to be, and I don't think this is, and I'm going to definitely throw this caveat out there. I don't think this type of a game is for everybody. I think there are a lot of people out there who can't handle having their character killed.
Totally.
But if you can, and you're willing to live on that edge, I have a feeling some of the most immersive, strategic, mechanicalized thought processes could probably be dove into a game like this, because of that risk is there.
Yeah, you're not going to get
you're not the hero. Like in this game, you're not the hero, which is the thing I really like about this. Because it's a competition.
You could be the hero, right? You could make it through without killing an innocent, and you could kill the monsters. You could end up killing the demon, right? So there's a chance for someone to walk the path of light.
Now, walking a path of light and being the hero in a campaign where it is nothing but a competition, I see two different things, personally. Now, I believe you're right. You're right. If there is somebody out there who's willing to push the boundaries of what it means to be that level of solid, that, because you are going to be probably pulled so much harder than anybody else, because you could go in here as a character with no bars, right? Like, because that's just how this game is built. That's the type of game it is. But if you went in with restrictions already and you're still trying to push through, like, goodness gracious, the trauma in both your mind and your gameplay is going to be tremendous.
One thing I've noticed is that I've got a very wide spectrum of player experience in the contestants. So I've had people that have played for a little over a month, and I've had people that have been playing since the mid-'70s when D&D started. Most have a really hard time being mean to other contestants. Like they try, but they just can't do it. I mean, even me, I call myself the killer DM, and the host has to kill 3 people per episode, but every time it happens, I'm gutted, because I never expected to be part of a community, and I never expected to kind of get attached to these people and call them my friends. So
yeah,
all of a sudden you start slamming people that are level 3 with like adult red dragon fire breath. You can't feel good about that.
No, you can't. I mean,
it's funny, but you can't feel good about it.
It is funny, and like I said, for me personally, it is one of those things where I won't kill a player off unless there is a story that's going to be built behind it. And I feel the same way with you. It's like, yes, I'm the killer DM, and I'm going to have to kill 3 of you, but I don't want to do it if it's just something stupid, right? Like, I want to do this if it's going to tell an amazing story. And but the problem is that this is something like this. It's a game too, so it's not just. Oh man, it would be a lot of fun.
I have to treat it in a way while I'm running Crucible games. I can't treat it like a normal D&D,
right?
Because it's very artificial, right? It's like the players can't just go and do whatever they want.
Right.
It's like, no, you're going.
You're very structured. This is the way you're going.
You're going here and you're doing this, and then you're stuck in this place and you have to fight each other. I mean, it's very constrained. And everyone knows what they're getting into from the beginning, so
Yeah.
that lessens the.
Well, that definitely benefits a lot. I think if you threw this at a table that was not ready for it, it would be a much different experience, and people would be much different at it.
So I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And not everyone is going to want to invest in it, but I still do plan to do a Kickstarter of like a Crucible of Fate home version, where if you have a group, like a DM and a group of 5 or 6, you could make like 20 characters each and just throw them in one at a time and just see what happens and have a bit of fun with it. It's not like you've got your one character that you're super invested in, and like if it dies you're going to be all destroyed. It's
Right.
like, okay, I got 20 characters. I don't even know this guy's last name, but
Right? You're like, let me hit randomize on Hero Forge or on D&D Beyond 3 times and see what I come up with. This is what I'm playing tonight.
exactly.
But
So I think that could be fun.
it could be, and I think something like a Kickstarter where you could have those randomization tables to build those characters or to build the monster encounters, those types of things, would definitely be an interesting concept to have.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, this is good. So we've walked through the character introduction. We walked through how they get their items. And then right after that, what happens?
So right after that, they roll. I just pick someone to roll randomly, just a d20 out of character, and they pick the lair. And so, depending on what the result of that roll is, I consult my lair table, and they have to face that monster. And so
Okay.
in round 1, each monster can only be faced once. And yeah, then they get an opportunity after they know what lair they're going into. That's when we roll initiative for the combat, and they move into this place that I call the gated gallery. So they're standing in this massive chamber with 3 columns of these monolithic onyx obelisks, which are gateways into all the different
Right.
layers. And then they have to tell the Eyes of Truth what's in their hands, because we pay very, very close attention to, are you dropping this weapon so you can grab your arcane focus, or like, are you reloading a crossbow? Like, we have to pay attention to that stuff. So people have to announce what's in their hands. And then they get 6 seconds worth of speech to say whatever they want to say before they go in the portal. Then they jump in the portal. Then that's my opportunity to give a bit of fluff and flavor to the lair that they're
Walking
into.
into.
And then the monster appears, and I get to describe it doing monster stuff. And then we just start the encounter. And we go until someone dies.
Nice.
And you're allowed to kill other people in Hunter and Hunted, and that won't end the game. It's only if the monster kills someone, then the game ends. So you could go in and decide, all right, we're going to kill Johnny and Jimmy. Those 2 die, and then someone else gets killed by the monster. Well, then the game's over. We don't need to play any more games because 3 people have died, and I need to keep 3 alive. But typically, 1 person dies at the monster's hands because everyone's working together trying to kill the monster.
Right.
It's impossible. They still can't help themselves. And they succeed. Sometimes.
Right.
And yeah, if they beat the monster, then they get an insane amount of treasure, because if it's a CR 20 monster, then they're getting CR 20 treasure. And when you're in a competition and all of a sudden someone has 55,000 gold, that gives them a bit of a leg up.
Little bit of a leg up, yeah, for the next round.
Yeah.
So once the monster's killed, if 3 players were not killed yet, then what happens?
Then they square off right there. I don't stop the game. It's like, okay, combat's over, but now there's a treasure chest here for you guys. I mean,
Right.
Are you going to split it equally? Because you're not allies. So
Right.
Someone might be like, this is all mine. Don't touch it.
Right.
And then
Who's gonna get backstabbed? Who's gonna be attacked? Has
Yeah,
at
or-
least 3 players died every round so far?
They have to, right? The show doesn't end until. That's why I put Split the Party as the final game. Split the Party is just straight up PvP.
Okay.
And so they fight until 3 are left. But what's happened? So Hunter and Hunted, let's say it goes as planned, the monster kills someone, then time kind of stops, and they have a free action to decide whether they want to get out of dodge and go back to the tavern. They can choose to stay behind and like loot the body, which has been disastrous for some people. Yeah, usually they all leave, and then that's the end of that video, and then we start filming part 2. So they all kind of follow the same pattern then, where it's like intermission actions. You know, are you going to the gift shop? Are you going to take a short rest? Are you going to speak with someone privately? Are you going to cast some spells or make some preparations? And then they do the escape room. And so escape rooms could be something like...
so you don't get to the escape room, though, until after the 3 have died, correct?
You do the escape room after the first person dies. So usually one dies, everyone else goes back to the tavern, they level up, then they do their intermission actions, and then we pick the lair for the escape room.
Got you.
Yeah, and so those are puzzles that there's always a way for the majority of the players to escape. Or we play until the room kills someone, and then the final 4 go back to the tavern, do their intermission actions, and then usually 4 go in to split the party. And that's been the most disappointing part of the game, because what ends up happening is that 3 people kind of form an alliance and they just beat the shit out of one.
The one guy, yeah.
Yeah, so whether that's because they worship a different deity in my world, or they've done something hideous to someone previously, or as a player, I don't know, you have to pick somebody.
Right, somebody's got to die, so let's hope it's not me. Like, like you hate to say that, but that's kind of where it's at, right? So
yeah, and I don't want to be the guy that brings bullying into D&D. So that's why for round 2, what we're doing is combining all 3 games into one. So you have overpowered monster in an escape room while you also have to kill each other. So no one leaves until 3 people are dead.
3 people are dead. Okay.
And that way, truly, every roll you make is critical, because even with the intermission actions, going first means you could go to the gift shop first.
Apparently, your one of your people did not know that was round 2, so they have found that out.
Supplies.
Yeah, Unleashed Havoc is like, what? I think he was playing. Who is Unleashed Havoc? I know he put his name out here somewhere. Who was he playing?
I wonder if that's Josh, or it could be.
It's Hurin.
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah.
Yep, surprise, Josh.
Yeah. So you have 3 players currently in the channel right now that are watching, and they are Dave dropping bombs. That's what somebody else just said. So you definitely have a good crew. Everybody seems to be in great spirits. That's moving forward, or that has. I don't know if all 3 of these players have moved forward or not. So, but
so even if people lose, they know there'll be other opportunities to play D&D, whether it's just with friends on Discord,
right,
or if it's going to be season 2 of Crucible. I also, and I won't do this again next season, but everyone that died got a second chance in what I called Return of the Fallen.
Okay.
So I brought all of the contestants that died. I gave them an opportunity to earn their way back in.
Okay. Not doing that again, because that just lengthens the game.
It really does, yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah, everybody's. There's still. I mean, there's going to be a decline in activity when you're no longer in the competition. The majority of the time, there's still some people that are just as keen after dying as before.
Oh yeah. So for people that are watching this, that might be watching it and going, "Oh wow, this is an interesting concept." Is there still openings, or is it completely booked for season 1?
So the competition is booked.
Okay.
But what I'm gonna do is when my next video comes out tomorrow. actually no, a week from tomorrow, part 2 will be out. I've started saying, please send in your applications. So make a level 3 character, write up a backstory, just a page of backstory, and submit it to highstakesdnd@gmail.com, and I'll send you the email and stuff. So that
Sure.
put it in the video description. But we're gonna just start doing one-off episodes, so it'll just be like a game show. It won't be part of Crucible of Fate proper, but you still get to play a Crucible episode.
Right.
For fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, definitely. Maybe the Tavern Keeper will have to go take a whack at this thing. Let's see.
Yeah, you should definitely play.
I'll come in full cosplay and everything.
No,
so we have a crew of people that are cosplayers that hang out here, and hopefully they all check this out. So
yeah, everybody's welcome. Hey, we could do a special live stream or something if you guys want. You can all come in as a group and vent your frustrations at one another.
Right. Yeah. Everybody who has the questions, so I've been running the Tavern Keeper for almost probably 5 months now. We've had a good probably about 2 dozen characters created during that time, where the Tavern Keeper is asked questions and he asks them questions, and everybody always asks, what's the Tavern Keeper's name, can he leave the tavern, those types of interesting questions like that. And it'd be interesting to just show up at the tavern and be like, haha, I'm here. I got out somehow. I can't go back, but I got out. So right, do we finally get to see Barkeep cosplay? Barkeep's been cosplaying. I'm always the cosplay Barkeep. But yeah, it's been I think it'd be an interesting concept, and I'd definitely be willing to work with you on maybe even doing one at the bar. We can kind of build one for the tavern itself, maybe have a little fun with that.
Sure.
I have another concept that I'm running through my head in the summertime that I think you would be a great addition for. So we'll talk about that after the channel. But
yeah, man,
something I'm working on. Hopefully, we're looking at summertime for this after all the conventions, right before Gen Con kicks off. Doing a big charity stream, 24 hours, but I've got all the details after the show. So. But yeah, does anybody in the chat have any questions for Crucible of Fate before we sign off here? Because we're about 10 minutes left. Is there anything else that we missed about Crucible of Fate that maybe I had not caught? Thank you for the follow.
See your chat, so I'll just wait.
But come out, it would be a fun episode. Oh, I bet it would definitely be a fun episode. The Barkeep is an interesting character. He's been around for a long time. Now, level 3 Barkeep is a very old character. That character's been around for about 8 years since he's been level 3, but it'd be definitely fun.
We could do a round 3 one where everybody's level 6 or something like that.
Yeah, it'd be fun. But yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. Let's see here. If anybody has any other questions, definitely toss those in. What's been your favorite betrayal in the Crucible of Fate? Ooh, Shadow with the hard questions. This is my boy. He's always in here doing this stuff.
So if you go to the Crucible of Fate YouTube channel, there's a short there. My favorite one
fast enough
was this group that were fighting at the crossroads, and there was a cleric and a fighter that were aligned with one another. And
you said it's a short?
The character got stabbed in the back.
Do you know what the short's called?
I can look while I'm...
I can definitely link it in.
Yeah, okay.
You don't have a ton, so it should be pretty easy to grab one.
But the player was a bit surprised and was a little emotional, and she asked if she could say something before she died, and called the other character a bastard, and he kept a straight face. He kept a straight face, and he's like, I move my visor up and look down at her and say, "You have no idea." I just thought that was so cold.
Daratrix killing Annihilus.
Any Alice? Yeah, that's
Any
it.
Alice, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the players just said, I have no idea. Let's see here if I can find this
Eight
one.
shorts. There we go.
Be careful what you ask for. Criminal charge laid against them. I just don't know if it'll pop up on our channel. Unless I have it.
I'll send it to you in the chat. Anyway.
Yep. Chat could go wonky for a second. Let's see here.
There you go.
Awesome. Look at that. Let me pull that out here and drop that in the channel. There we go. So definitely go check out that YouTube short for your favorite betrayal in the Crucible of Fate.
Yeah, guys, and make sure you subscribe and all that stuff.
Definitely.
We're trying real hard to get those numbers up.
I feel that
video
we have very low numbers on YouTube, but we're trying to grow this year, so that's the goal this year.
It's a grind, man. YouTube doesn't like the long form content anymore.
Nope.
They only like
YouTube's a hard grow. Twitch is a hard. I mean, everything's a hard grow. You're grinding from zero. I mean, unless you have some sort of backing, you're grinding from zero. I will not ask that question because that is bias, and I'm not doing that. That's not nice. Somebody asked who is your favorite character so far, and I'm not going to let you answer that question. That's just
no,
mean.
I can't. I couldn't answer that. Everybody is my favorite.
One of your players asked that question, of course, so I'm just like, nope, not answering that one.
So what I will say is that I think it's interesting when people make bold decisions and take bold actions, knowing full well how risky it is. I don't like it when people kind of try to do things like, oh, I'm going to use rope trick to hide all fight. I'm like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
We're establishing a ban list for certain spells. And
Got you.
You can't just show up and hide.
Yeah.
That's not what this is about, right? Why would you enter a competition only to hide?
Right, yeah. I mean, sooner or later, somebody's going to backstab you at that point. Like,
yeah, and so that's another interesting thing, right? Like, you talk about people being, like, cold and evil, but you have to live with that, right? So
right.
You might win round one by stabbing someone in the back, but then the whole community knows what you did, and then you get tagged with the traitor.
Okay, so I've got two new questions. So one is, do you see any class getting picked particularly more or less in the Crucible?
So, yes, kind of, sort of. So moon druids are popular. I mean, they can soak up a lot of damage, obviously. Paladins are big.
Yeah, they can.
Paladin warlocks are big. But there's a pretty wide spectrum. And then I also have people that are min-maxing. They're like power gaming. And on the other hand, I have people that are making subpar characters that just want to roleplay the heck out of it and have fun, which is great. I don't want it to just be a straight up power gaming event.
Right. And then we had another question where, mentioning. Somebody said mention the Shadows Nigh content.
Okay, well, so Shadows Nigh is my homebrew campaign. The world is Araya. So I'm currently like making the map. I've got like a lot of the backstory done. I'm doing all of that while I'm doing the show. And so I use the scenarios in the show to highlight different aspects of the homebrew world. So the monsters each have a story that evolves throughout the show. The host is a big part of my homebrew campaign world. So my hope is that when Crucible ends in 2 years, season 1, I'll be able ready to put out my homebrew setting and campaign setting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds like that's a great idea.
Yeah, and I think that the way that I don't want to give any spoilers away, but
Sure.
the world is very much a world of mystery and exploration, which is what I enjoy about playing D&D. And there's lots of opportunity to like discover the old world because just real quick, some of the unique elements of my world is that currently there's this barrier that runs the circumference of the world, and what it does is it's locked the world in place. So one pole is always facing the sun. So the top of the planet is a huge desert, like 15-20% of the planet is desert.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side, it's completely dark and cold, right? It's all frozen over. And right along the equator is a massive moon called Pala, and the sun reflects off of it. So in the middle of the world, there's still light. At the end of the world, there's still light. But in between, there's this ring of shadow. And then on the other side of the barrier, I mean, it's all dark, and no one knows what's there or why the barrier was put in place.
Right.
So the players have to figure all that
Just
out.
gives a lot of, I mean, it's a lot of mystery right there. Like, that's super, super deep mystery at that point. Yeah, no, I like that. That's interesting. And of course, you know, sooner or later, hopefully somebody will find a way to, you know, manipulate that. Then you can even shift even more fun stuff, because that would be interesting. But no, Dave, this is a great conversation. Keep doing what you're doing, because it sounds like it's going really well for you. Love the like aspect behind you. Like, that is legit. I'm just gonna say it out loud, because that is awesome. The fact that you got your tavern, dungeon, game room, whatever you want to call the damn thing, it is epic looking, that's for sure.
Thanks very much, James, and you know, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on your show.
Yeah,
Same
man.
thing back at you. You know, keep up the grind.
Hey,
keep
we're here
working
for
at
that.
it. Let me know if there's anything that, you know, I can do to help out. But since you asked about the tavern, I just want to, because my camera could quit on me if I do this.
Yeah, you
just,
good.
give you guys a quick little tour for those who still
Yeah.
aren't. So,
Yeah, for people who are sticking around for the last couple minutes, look at that
so that's
thing.
the table. There's a little spoiler alert for the escape room for part 2 of episode 20.
Ooh. People
That's
watching.
where the bar is gonna be.
There you go. Look at that place.
That's a secret door that leads into the other part of my basement there where the library and the books are.
That's dope. That's every man's dream right there. I'm telling you.
Yeah, well, I'm still paying for it.
Yeah, I feel you.
I have an understanding wife, and yeah, it's gonna take me 4 years to pay this off at this rate. So.
I feel you, man. Like I said, this year I'm hopefully buying a house, and then that'll start the projects for getting the tavern together. The Tavern of Tales will be a thing one day. Mythweaver's Respite is going to be a room in the house somewhere. I don't know where yet, but and the barkeep will have his place. I have some friends of mine that legitimately wanted me to start a restaurant and bar here, and I was like, yeah, that's expensive, and I don't really want to do it. But we'll see what happens over the next couple of years. Awesome time talking with you, and just having a chance to understand your concepts and the way you play D&D and the ideas that you're coming from. And it's definitely an original concept, and I continue to expect big things from the show. I can almost guarantee it.
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate that, and again, I also appreciate the opportunity to come on here and you know, get to know your following, and I'll certainly be checking out your streams. Yeah, man. Best of luck. And
Yeah.
keep up the good work and keep fighting the fight. I mean, last minute plug. If people are enjoying the show, I'll also send a link to the Patreon. We've got a tier that's like $3 Canadian a month. So it's like $2 American or something. I mean, hey, if you can afford a coffee, you know, anything people do to help out the stream, put it right into condition markers, mats.
Yep. Yeah, we're hopefully gonna do the same thing here this year, but man,
everything takes time and energy.
Everything takes time and energy. But yeah, no, definitely shoot me a plug for that. I can drop that over in the channel right now. Thanks everybody for just coming out, listening to this. Hopefully you've gone to the YouTube, hit your subscribe, definitely give them a follow, and comment, likes, all you can. One thing I tell people all the time is these cost nothing, but they help so much. If you can subscribe, follow, give likes, give comments. What that does in the technical world is it makes people think and see that you enjoy it. And as you do that, then more people get to see and see what we get to do. Thank you again, once again. Hopefully, Crucible of Fate continues for years and years down the road as such a cool and awesome opportunity. But tonight it is time for the bar to close down. So for all of our friends out there, raise your glasses high. It is last call. I am your game master. I am your tavern keeper. And I hope to see you guys all next week for Tavern Talks, as well as you can see me on Monday nights over on Gen Con TV's Twitch channel as we continue to dive through a horrific trip through Icewind Dale, which if anybody has ever played in that world, it is brutal in all honesty. But I'm loving to destroy my players at every corner with the terrain and the environment and their own wonderful decisions. Make sure you go follow these guys. These guys are awesome. David, thank you again once again for just coming on the show. And we'll see you guys all next week. Have a wonderful night.
See you later, guys. Enjoy a nice long rest.